You are watching Co-op for Two, broadcasting live from Champaign, Illinois. Saturday night, October 8th, 2022 at around 11 p.m. And we're here to play turn 11 of the play-by-mail game from Murders by Mail, LA.Noire Bloom of Hollywood. This session has been a long time coming, a little over 2 weeks since we last played this case. And that's the first thing we're going to do, talk about why that is, what happened, what went wrong, and where we are. I see Anna and Matt are in the channel. Hopefully Jonathan will make it. Got a couple things different from my end here. I'm using OBS 28. I'm using another new plugin I've written. So let me know if the audio and video are okay. Looks like there's a little bit of blank space in the chat. But okay. If you haven't watched the previous 10, 11 episodes, you should stop watching now and go back and watch that. But I do have the reply finally after 2 weeks. And let's talk about what happened. We've basically solved this case. We think we've wrapped up this case long ago, months ago, basically. And on the last couple of turns, our trail ran cold. We know where our primary suspect is, Poppy Fitzgibbon, the sister of the victim. We know she's holed up in a hotel. But we spent the last couple of turns tracking down her boyfriend, who was obviously critical to committing the murder, poisoning. We finally found that he was the delivery boy for a restaurant called Stoddard's. That's how we got finally his last name, Ramirez. We tracked him down to his house. He gave us the slip. He rabbited out a window on the first floor, got in a car, apparently drove away. And we spent a turn or so and a good chunk of time trying to figure out how we could get on his trail. Maybe by finding his car. We thought maybe the DMV would have a record of it. Maybe he stole a car, so we checked the lots near his house. And we couldn't find him. We did find one more lead about Poppy Fitzgibbon that we did manage to locate finally. We'll take a look at that reply. But at the end of our last turn 2 weeks ago, we thought, okay, we can't find Julio Ramirez. Let's just take one last shot at a couple of unlikely places. One of those was the Mexican newspaper that we found in the directory. Now, that was a place we were considering going to when we couldn't find Julio at all. Now that we found him, it seems unlikely that that newspaper would have any information. We thought, okay, if not there, maybe the local police station knows him. We put in the entry at the end. We submitted our move. And we chose to go to the Mexican newspaper, fully expecting that the game would do what it has done before when we put in a location that's not been, that a clue hasn't been written for in the game. We've seen what happens when we enter something in by a typo or transposition. The game says, there are lots of reasons you might go there. Why do you want to go to that location? Type in a text box. And we speculated that when we got that prompt submitting a location, that was the game's way of sort of subtly not telling us, hey, you're in the wrong place, we don't have an answer planned, but a subtle way of saying that. And we speculated maybe that's a way for the designers to hear from someone who just thought of a place to go to that they hadn't thought of, And maybe it was in use in the early days of the game. They would collect, like if a lot of people thought to go to the DMV, maybe they would add an entry for the DMV. We tried going to the DMV and it said, hey, why do you want to go there? We've always, when we encountered that, said, okay, let's not waste a turn. We're not going to type in why we want to go there. We'll just pick a different place. So that's what we expected to happen with the Mexican newspaper. To our surprise, the web app, the website, did not complain. So we thought, whoa, okay, we are going to get some information from Julio here. I thought it probably was going to be an alternate way to find Julio when we actually found him. So I didn't think we were going to get some good information, but I was surprised that there was an entry for it. One of the reasons, this is all to lead up to explain all this, I'm just building this up. One of the reasons why we never chose to type in, hey, this is why we want to go to the DMV, even though we know you'd have an entry, was that we thought it might delay the reply when a human might get involved in this. And I thought, well, these games are old enough that probably someone's not sitting there paying much attention to them. But we did worry that it would delay our replies and that we would likely just get a blank reply, which would be wasting a turn. Okay, so that's where we left it 2 weeks ago. Then about a week ago, I got an email from Murders by Mail from a person named Jason. Not sure what position he holds at Murders by Mail. And the email said almost what you would expect if we had typed in the reason we want to go there. It seems like it slipped through the system. There really wasn't an answer. There wasn't a clue written for that Mexican newspaper, but somehow it didn't get flagged when we submitted it. So Jason wrote a personal email. He said, I see you've tried to go to this location. There's no entry for that location. Can you tell me what you were thinking? So a real reply from a human, or maybe a form letter, whatever, but doing exactly what we thought. Saying, why did you want to go to this location? Maybe it's something we haven't thought of. I wrote a reply. I said basically, well, we've been trying to track down Julio. We didn't actually expect to get anything at the Mexican newspaper, but it was our last ditch chance to find Julio. Not that we really think the game, we don't have high confidence that we'll be able to find him. We think maybe that's it. He's exited stage right, but we thought we'd give it a try. And I explained about the DMV stuff. And sure enough, a couple days later, Jason replied, so this is a real human involved, that he said, he told me a little bit about the role of Julio, nothing important to talk about. But just was nice that it was a real human talking. But he didn't say what he was going to do. So it wasn't clear whether we were going to get a reply that just said nothing's there. However, I believe I know what he's going to do based on what he said, which is the other half of this introduction, which is a bit embarrassing. What he said was, hey, have you looked for a relative of Ramirez? And I said, we didn't have more exchanges, email back and forth, but that's where he left it. And I said to myself, well, of course we did. I remember doing it twice. And in the last stream, someone even asked me in the chat, hey, did you look him up in the directory? And I said, basically, as I remember it, yes, I did. He's not in the directory. Well, this is a good lesson that carelessness kills in this game. We've got two mottos. This is our second motto. The first one is that the notes solve the case. But now we've got a new one, which is that carelessness kills. Somehow in my memory, I distinctly remember looking up Ramirez once we got his last name in the directory. But I must have looked up something else. Maybe I looked up Rodriguez or something. Because when I went back to the directory now, and I looked up Julio Ramirez, I think I must have looked up like RO. When I looked up again Ramirez, look what I found. There's actually 2 entries for Ramirez right here. One is J. Ramirez. That's Julio's apartment that we went to find him. That's the one where he escaped. But look, there's another one. There's another relative of his at S51. So I believe that that's we're either going to be directed to that in this email, in this letter, or based on what Jason said, how they handle things, I expect we may get sent there. So yeah, carelessness on my part, sloppiness, and almost killed us. So the only thing that saved us is our stubbornness not to give up looking for him. But this is a good lesson, and the chat even said, "Hey, did you look him up? One must be careful and double check." I don't know how I missed it, but I did, and that's scary that we almost missed it. Okay, so we're gonna open this now, see what happens to that place we went. Did we go to the Mexican newspaper? Anna says, you did look up Ramirez, but we knew he was Julio, so we concentrated on a J. Ramirez. That's how we found him. I see. So you're saying it's not that we got his address from someone else. We actually looked up his name, but I never looked for if he had relatives. Someone asked me in the chat yesterday if we looked for other relatives, or 14 days ago, if we looked for other relatives, and I said we had, and we hadn't. I hadn't, so that's a little scary. All right, so let's open this up. It's a lesson. We've learned a lesson for the future to be more careful. Let's cut that right open. So let's see what we got. And it says, yes, we didn't look for relatives in the directory. That's how we got burned. It's not just that we didn't look for relatives. It's that someone in the chat thought to ask that question. And I just brushed it off, saying, yes, we had, when we hadn't. So that was the double killer. All right, so let's look at where it sent us. So our main guy, William Knight, went to the H.V. Hoffman Akey Company. Okay, if you'll remember that, that is the other insurance company that handles insurance for the movie stars. I was sure we were going to find that Poppy had taken out life insurance on her sister, and that was part of her motivation. We went to the one life insurance company in LA. They said, no, but we don't handle these actresses. So we went to the insurance company that does tend to handle actresses, that movie companies take out policies. Now, remember, we're going to send Naomi, but we decided to switch things up, so we sent Bill McKnight. Naomi went to S79. Is that our new place? No. Naomi we sent to talk to the ex-husband. Yes, Michael Wood. So this is the one I'm looking forward to. If you remember, we've been looking for Poppy's ex-husband for a long time. We finally went to the Hall of Records, and we found that she was married to a Michael Wood, divorced June. So they were only married for like 6 months and they got divorced. We were searching for the husband's name for a long time, hoping he might have dirt on Poppy Fitzgibbon and might be able to tell us a little bit about her history, why she dislikes her sister, etc. So I'm sort of excited to go talk to Michael Wood. We sent Naomi to see if maybe she could charm him into revealing information. Okay, lastly, we have the person we sent to the Mexican newspaper. So we chose to go to S12. And you can see exactly what I suspected actually happened. So it didn't send us to S12. It sent us to the relative A. Ramirez. So I suspect what happened is that Jason from Murders by Mail could have given us a blank entry that said there was nothing out there, but based on him talking to me, he said, okay, I'm going to not have them waste their turn. I'm going to send them to the relative. Could be brother, could be mother. So the way we're going to explain this in our minds is we went to the Mexican newspaper. We say, hey, you don't happen to know Julio Ramirez? And he said, the rest of the newspaper guy said, no, but that's a pretty common name. Did you bother checking in the directory? And that's what made us, for the second time, think, okay, maybe we do need to go back to the directory. So we looked it up. We found A. Ramirez. So that's whose house we went to. That's how we're going to explain away our mistake. All right. Are you ready? 17 minutes in to read these replies. Let's make a entry here to go where we actually went. S51. How close is it to his house? I think this is, I think this is Julio Ramirez, and here is A. Ramirez, Angel Ramirez. Okay, so let's start right there. Went to S51 like you asked, sort of. I ain't the nervous type, Will, but there's something to be said about knowing when you're a different color than the majority of the neighborhood you're in. I wouldn't say it worried me, but I admit I kept making my hands into fists. The house is an itty-bitty pre-war box, and there's a tricycle and a few kids' toys strewn in the lawn, so right away it figures to be a family here. I knock, and a pretty young Mexican woman who looks about 1,000 months pregnant waddles up to the screen door. See? Hello, Miss Ramirez? Is there a Julio Ramirez here by any chance? I smile. The woman doesn't react at all, total blank stare, then turns and waddles back inside. I stand for a second, wondering what just happened. Then a man walks up to the door. The husband is my guess. He's in chinos, undershirt, and a very suspicious expression. Mr. Ramirez? Angel. Julio's my cousin. What do you want with him? He asks. I relax my shoulders and try to look calm. Just need to ask him some questions, I say. Don't mean any trouble. He gives me a longer stare, evaluating. The decision is a shake of his head. He's not here. He went to visit family back in Mexico. He left the country? I'm not shocked, really, but I hadn't expected that. I start to ask where in Mexico, but realize that's a bad question and he wouldn't tell me anyway. For how long? Until people stop looking for him, I think, he says, and the tone of the answer tells me we're done. Sorry to bother you, I say, and take a step back from the door. If my guess is right, Julio's going to be south of the border for quite a while. Bev. Okay, so this just wraps up in a neat bow our plot line for Julio. We suspected we'd never be able to find him. This is just a nice little confirmation. You're done with him. He's out. He's done with for the picture. He survived because we thought Poppy might kill him if she knew the cops were onto him, but he's escaped into Mexico. I believe that. I don't think he's lying, and I think that's it for our Julio story. All right, let's see what the insurance agency says. Address M55, H.V. Hoffman Akey Company. A matronly secretary ushered me into a large meeting room to wait and left me without so much as a glass of water. Shame, since the day was shaping up to be a real scorcher. About 10 minutes later, there was a rap on the door, followed by the entrance of a silver-haired gentleman in a sharp three-piece suit. Mr. Knight, I'm Pierce Hoffman, one of the partners, he said, and walked straight over to shake my hand. I understand you have some questions about Violet York's policy. Someone does have a policy on her. Nothing like a man who cuts straight to the point and tells me part of what I want to know right from the hop. Violet did indeed have a policy. That's right, Mr. Hoffman. Can you tell me who received the payout on her policy? The beneficiary was Champion Studios, he said. All of the studios maintain policies on their contract players, protecting their investments, as it were. I see. And what was the value of the policy? He didn't bat an eye. $10,000, a standard amount. I nodded. And was the policy new? Or had it been recently changed or adjusted? I can verify the exact date of origin if you like, but it's been in effect for several years. As I said, it was a standard taken out when Miss York's star began to rise. It's never been modified. I thanked Hoffman for his time and left with a bitter taste in my mouth. No one at Champion wanted Violet dead, but of course they pulled a profit from her death. Just business as usual in sunny old Hollywood. Okay, so this just ties up another loose end. I was sure Poppy took life insurance policy out on her sister as a little side benefit of why she killed her, but this was just tying up loose ends. The studio has a policy on her, just completely standard practice. They still do it even today. If your movie star dies, you need to be covered. Okay, here we go. We're talking to the ex-husband. This could be our one good thing. Here's Naomi talking to him. Will, I found Wood's house in a new development called Long Beach Estates, not particularly close to any beach. I took out a small notepad and knocked, and a man with thick glasses and a tussle of curly brown hair answered. He looked like he belonged in a bebop club. Yeah? Mr. Wood? I flashed the polite but weary smile of a tireless civil servant. My name is Miss Green. I work for the census. We've come across an irregularity in your record. Wondered if you could clear it up. Naomi's always got a little con going on. Maybe you guys were right to send her here. He blinked a couple of times, then shrugged amiably. I poised a pencil on my notebook. We have conflicting entries concerning a Poppy Fitzgibbon. We show you as both married to and divorced from her. Oh, he laughed. Divorced, definitely divorced. I ain't seen her in a couple years. No, thank you. So you were only married 4 months? Yeah, more like 3. Last month was me hiding out in Reno, waiting for the divorce to clear. He sighed. Worst mistake I ever made. Why's that, if I may ask? Ugh, lady, that canary is crazy. Don't know what a head doctor would call it, but she thought everybody was against her all the time. It ain't too weird to find a singer who's a little self-centered, but all that mattered to Poppy was Poppy. She hit it pretty good before we got hitched, but after... He held up the back of his right hand and pointed to an inch-long scar below the first knuckle. See that? This is where she stabbed me with scissors because I liked the Dinah Shore song. Dinah Shore. I let my professional veneer slip. Even civil servants get caught up by Hollywood. Wasn't she Violet York's sister? Did she ever talk about her? He rolled his eyes. You mean the sister who stole her dreams? Who stole the life that was meant for her? Who was the reason for every single problem she ever had? He laughed again. Nope. Never talked about her at all. Okay, so yes, this is what we were hoping to find. It is confirming all our suspicions, but it's nice to, these answers have been like putting the nail in the coffin, finalizing everything for us. And this was our last piece of our puzzle. This is why we wanted to find the ex-husband. We wanted him to give us a little bit of confirmation that she really did hate her sister. And now we've got it in spades. She blames her for everything. Alrighty. So you couldn't ask for a better sort of wrap-up. I think we're ready to open our black envelope in the LA.Noire case, just like we opened the black envelope in the Sherlock Holmes case earlier this week. We understand the side case. We understand Poppy. Now we've got proof. We can bring it to the cops. We can give them enough convincing evidence about why Poppy did it. We've now got good motive, good opportunity. Shall we open the black envelope? There are a couple more informants that we haven't gone to. We haven't gone to 2 newspaper reporters and an attorney. But I don't think we need to. Matt E says, let's get hot dogs this turn. Okay, so Matt wants to go get hot dogs. Jonathan's been wanting to get hot dogs too. The hot dogs they're talking about are these free hot dogs here in the paper. Instead of solving it, Matt is saying, let's go get some hot dogs. There are a couple more interesting places. There's Giddy's from Chinatown Detective Agency. There's Philip Marlowe. So if you wanted to just prolong it a little bit, we could send people to some fun places. But I think we're ready to solve it. Giddy's, Philip Marlowe, Pinkerton. We can go to the William Knight Agency, W17. I don't think we've even been there to our own. We've never chosen to go to our own place. That's an interesting idea. All right, so I put it to you, the audience. You can decide. Do you want to go to 3 fun places? Or do you want to open the black envelope? I think maybe we do both. Let's open that black envelope. When we did the Sherlock Holmes case, we opened the black envelope and we decided to take one last extra set of turns before answering it. So the thing to do now is open this black envelope, read our questions, and then decide if you want to go to a couple more places before we actually enter our solutions. So here we go. We're going to open this up. Think about it, 12 turns, That means 12 weeks. We've been playing this for 3 months. All right, here we go. The Bloom of Hollywood. Let's see if these work. I changed some things, so maybe they won't. Yes, they're working. Okay. The Bloom of Hollywood. Your answers to these questions will determine if you have untangled the plot and unmasked the killer. These primary questions deal with the most important aspects of the case, the murderer, the motive, the method, etc. Who murdered Violet York? Well, we know Poppy and Julio did together. What was the motive for the murder? I guess we can say the motive was revenge, jealousy, and side benefit. She could maybe take over her career. But revenge for her perceived slights of her sister causing her life to be ruined, and jealousy. What was the cause of death? That was poisoning. We know it's the rat poison that did it. Okay, secondary questions involve side plots and details which you may or may not have uncovered. These are not required to solve the case, but correct answers provide extra points. Did Violet York and Carl Kenner have an affair? We didn't spend too much time chasing that down. What was stolen from Cargo Terminal 12? If you'll remember, this was the heroin shipment being smuggled in. Heroin smuggling, so we know that. What is Inga DeBrusque's real name? Who is Joe Stanton's greatest love? That's interesting. I think we know these answers, but I don't recall them offhand, but I believe they're in our Joe Stanton. I mean, we've got entries. We're going to have to find some of these. We went and visited Joe Stanton on the lot. Let's see, who visited him? I believe it was Naomi. I don't know. We did visit the wife of the ADA. These three these three questions are a little interesting because I'm not sure we paid much attention to them. We thought it was all going to be about the heroin smuggling, so we know that one. Let's see, when did we go visit Joe Stanton on the lot? Joe Stanton and I arrived. This is turn reply number 4. He's handsome. He's upset that Violet's dead. He's never hit a woman. I'm not sure I know the answer about what is his greatest love. We didn't go, I don't believe we went to the party where they were. We thought that was not going to be useful, so we may have to go to that party to find the answer to that question. Does anyone recall information about Joe Stanton's true love? And Inga DeBrusque was who? I recognize that name, but I don't remember. looking through some of our things. We talked to Joe's driver as well. Yes, we did. Here's Joe's driver. He's working on the car. I drove Joe all the time, the 10th. Sure, he was at the big shindig at the Del Rey. Anything happen? He was drunk, sawing logs on his living room couch. Must have been there till 3 in the morning. Have you ever needed him to get rough with women? No, he's a gent. Never mind. He certainly likes to drink. I think we may need to go to the Del Rey. I think we didn't go there. Here's more about Joe Stanton from the mother. He had a bit of a reputation. He was like a puppy. Her seeing Carl Kenner story. There's a story about her seeing Carl Kenner with the photographer. I don't think we followed up with the photographer. But the mother says that was over before it began. Violet learned he was married and didn't want any part of it. I was very proud of her. And where is Inga? So here's the, if we're going to follow up some of these other things, the photographer is Jeff Coate. So he might be able to answer the thing. Did she have an affair? It sounds like they did, but she ended it very quickly. This is the wife of Carl. She says, I don't care if they're having an affair, I'm just waiting for the divorce. And we learn about Ramirez. It's interesting that we don't. Anna says, I see, so they didn't have an affair then. I can't tell if it's saying they had a very quick affair, but she ended it quickly, or if she's saying they never had an affair because she discovered she was married. But she certainly, Violet wasn't having a long-term affair knowing he's married. So it sounds like maybe they didn't have an affair. Who's Irma DeBrusque? Oh, not in this last one. Was DeBrusque one of the people at the bar? Is that what it was? Was Irma DeBrusque one of the drag queen singers, actresses at the bar? Was that it? I think that might have been it. We went there pretty early. Let's see. We first went to Violet's house. Let's see. Yes, that was it. Okay, let's take a look. So we go to the club where Poppy Fitzgibbon was a singer. We see some ads for Arlo Skelly, a zoot-suited dandy with a trumpet, Inga DeBrusque, a dramatically lit woman with a cigarette holder, and then we see a guy who strikes us as familiar, Dwight Schmidt. Happy to give you the bad news. The diva's not here. So Inga's real name is Dwight Schmidt. Which is in reply number 2. Okay, so Dwight Schmidt was Inga DeBrusque was Dwight Schmidt's stage name at the club that Poppy sang at. So what we don't know for 100% sure is how to answer this. Did Violet York and Carl Kenner have an affair? Probably not. Sounds like Violet called it off. What is Joe Stanton's greatest love? I don't know how to answer that. Was it drinking? Is that what they want? Or do we need to go to the Del Rey Club where they were celebrating to find out? Did we really never go there? Let's see. The Del Rey Club is E61. We're told that that's where he was celebrating, and I don't believe we ever bothered to go there, but I could be wrong. We might have gone there. Let's see. No, we didn't go there. So I think we're going to have to go to the Del Rey Club to see if we can get a final lead on Joe Stanton and what he's focused on. Now, what about this photographer, Jeff Coate? He would have the last bit of information about Violet and Carl. Or so would Carl, for that matter, perhaps. Can't remember if we tried to talk to him. Well, there's two entries for Jeff Coate, an L and an M. E47 and E83, and we didn't go to either of those yet? No, we didn't. Interesting. The other person that might know if they had an affair is Freddie Guzman, a reporter at the Examiner, who wallows in stories most reporters won't touch. If there's sleaze involved, Freddie knows about it. So Examiner, informant, W7, that would be a reasonable place to get information. And then Jeff Coate. So there's two entries for Jeff Coate. E47L. Jeff Coate L is E47 and M is E83. So if we wanted to find out if Violet was actually having an affair, the photographer who took their picture might know. We already visited their house. But the district attorney, I can't remember if we're told that he's used to be. Carl Kenner, the ADA. Photographer caught her on the arm of Carl Kenner, the ADA. Then he beat up the shutterbug. So you could also imagine we could go to the district attorney if we wanted to follow up on that. M57. Let me just make sure we never went there yet. went to M56, M55, but we didn't go to M57. Okay, so there's that. And then the photographer, do we know his first name? Where did we learn about the photographer? Okay. Carl's a terror in the courtroom, but outside he's only a paper tiger. He broke the man's camera. The rest is a publicity stunt ginned up by the photographer Jeffcoat and the Herald Express. No charges were ever filed, but after it happened, Carl came clean. We had a very serious talk and made plans for our future. You mean kids? And she says, no, we're getting a divorce. So that's a little bit of mixed signals about whether they're having an affair. And we've also got Felicia Rhodes, Hollywood news gossip and rumors. Okay, and then Jeffcoat and the Herald Express. Let me just see if we have an address for the Herald Express and if that matches one of our Jeffcoats. Herald Express is W84. Express W84. I don't know how we would know which Jeffcoat to go to. They're both in the East. All right. Well, we're not going to try to solve it now because we've got a bunch more places to go to gain information about these questions. Let's decide where we want to focus. Did Violet York and Carl Kenner have an affair? I don't know how to answer that. We know that Violet was a good girl and broke off with him as soon as she found out he was married. So does that mean yes, they had an affair and she broke it off, or no, she refused to have an affair? And then the other question we don't know the answer to is, who is Joe Stanton's greatest love? Not what, but who. That sounds like a person. So that sounds like our number one place we have to focus. So that means maybe at the Del Rey Club we'll discover that, where they went to celebrate. So we should definitely go to the Del Rey Club. And then we could go to the two gossip informants, hoping that one of them either knows about Joe Stanton or knows about Violet York and Carl Kenner. So I guess that would be my vote, that we go to the Del Rey Club and then we go to the two informants, which are Freddie Guzman wallows in stories most reporters won't touch. If there's sleaze involved, Freddie will know about it. And Felicia Rhodes, in a town like this, it pays to know someone like Felicia. She lives off a diet of Hollywood news, gossip, and rumors. Anna says, go to the gossip person, but also go directly to Kenner. Okay, we've been to Kenner's house. That's the only directory entry we have with Kenner. If we want to try to get a meeting with Kenner, we'll have to go to the district attorney's office, and we might find him there. Shall we try that? Let's do the entries we are agreeing on. And who do we want to send where? Okay, at the Del Rey Club, I think we send not Bev. Bev's always the last person to send. Anna says, yes, let's go to the DA. Okay, so let's send... How about we send Naomi to the club, Bill McKnight to the district attorney's office, and we'll send Bev to the gossip columnist. How about that? So Naomi is going to go to the Del Rey Club. That's E61. She's at E's in the clubs. Bill Knight, that's the Del Rey Club. Bill Knight is going to go to our gossip person. That's Felicia Rhodes, diet of Hollywood news, gossip, and rumors. That's E17. That's Bev is going to go there. That's the Daily Variety. And Bill McKnight is going to go to the district attorney's office. Let me just point out one more place that could have ADA information. Sherman Flowers, a lawyer who's worked both sides of the court, ADA, and now private practice. He practically lives at City Hall. So he would be another person that might know about M25. Okay, so we can still try to go to the ADA's office. And if that doesn't want us to go there, we can pick one of these others. Either way, it'll be Bill Knight. Okay. So you're saying you want to go to the government office of the district attorney, M57. Oh, I see. M57. Yes, M57. Sorry, I thought that was going to be the same. Okay, district attorney. Okay, let's try these. Let's see if it balks at any of them. It sounds like maybe we've got 2 more turns if we want to be, if we don't get all of our answers, we've got another 3 places we can go. All right, let's try to enter these in. Well, you've got a last chance before I type this in. And do you want to go to the informant who knows about the legal City Hall, or do you want to go right to the district attorney's office? It sounds like maybe our informant would know better and is more likely to give us information. Do you want to try to go to the informant instead, who knows about City Hall? and knows about the ADA people instead of going to the district attorney? Yes, informant. Okay, Matt agrees. Okay, so we're instead of going to the district attorney, we're going to our informant who's supposed to know about the district attorneys. M25. It does seem like he's more likely to know or point us to. If he doesn't know directly, he'll point us to. Okay, let's put these in. So Knight's going to M25. Naomi is going to E61, which is the Del Rey Club. And Bev is going to E17, the gossip columnist. Sending move now. Okay. So, that was interesting how we've got questions that we thought were the least of our concerns, and we know 2 of them and 2 we don't. So just to keep track of this list of our final locations, we went there now. We went there. And we went to the Herald. What was the other informant we went to? Daily Variety E17. Okay. So, and the Del Rey Club. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other places to go to if we don't get our answers there. So looks like we might have another turn after this just to put to bed these secondary questions. All right, let's put these back in our box. So far, no sign that anyone's going to escape if we take our time, so we're not in any huge rush. Anna says the gossip columnist could also give us information about Joe Stanton's greatest love. Yes, absolutely. That's what I was hoping. That like those informants seem like our best bet to get information on maybe both of those things. All right. Thank you for your patience. My apologies for slipping up a little bit about Julio Ramirez's relatives. These last 3 replies we got actually were nice in sort of tying a bow on 3 separate issues we had. Julio, he escaped. He's in Mexico. The husband gave us Poppy's solid alibi, and then the insurance company got wrapped up. All right. Hopefully, we'll get our replies for this in a week, and I'll see you in a week to maybe submit our solutions for both games. All right. Thanks for joining me. We've got a busy October ahead of us. I'll be posting a review for the Cold Case Investigation Unit series of games that we played. We just played Case 4 yesterday. That was about 7 hours. Anna had to leave in the middle of it. Matt says, I wonder if Julio wouldn't have escaped if we went sooner. I don't think so. The game kind of suggests that you can change things, but I don't think it ever intended for that to be changed. I think we're going to play a Sherlock Holmes fan scenario in a week or so. And we also have the new Postmortem London Gothic in the mail, as well as some other surprises. I'll see you next week.